what's up?
Out here begging for attention, nigga, say please. Always rapping like you about to get the slaves free.
A time all of us was in chains. Homie still double down, calling us some slaves.
Are we really surprised? Because Drake has been tone deaf this entire rap battle. He was tone deaf when he said Kendrick raps like he's trying to free the slaves. He was tone deaf when he said Kendrick was calling him a PDF file because he got touched as a kid, which was completely false. He misinterpreted the whole song, and a white man had to come out and tell him that he got his facts wrong.
This reads the text. He reads the text. This is why it's very important. Critical thinking skills are very important. This is why it's the most important thing you can learn in college is critical thinking, reading comprehension. I'm not trying to be patronizing. I'm just trying to be honest. I'm trying to be clear. It is the fact that one could listen to or read the lyrics to the song Mother, I Sober and conclude that Kendrick himself was sexually abused is completely against the sense of the text. The text itself is about generational trauma and about the fact that his mother assumed that he must have been abused because of the abuse that she suffered herself. It's about the presumption of it, not about the fact of it. He wasn't touched, but he was still affected because he was constantly chasing manhood. But Whitney's gone. By the time you hear this song, she did all she could. Drake, you sent us back to this song, and in this song, Kendrick Lamar told us that Whitney left him. And now we're supposed to sit there and listen to your track where you say, how come you haven't talked to Whitney in 6 months? It's like we know why. We know why. Because their relationship couldn't survive the results of the trauma that he suffered. And it wasn't SA, it was other stuff. And it's such a beautiful song, and it's so powerful, and it's so meaningful. And it's something that Kendrick can bring us. And it's a reminder, Drake, that you can't. You just lack the self-awareness.
And he was down bad when he said that Kendrick was beating on his fiancée. Either way, Drake is just tone deaf. He needs to learn to read the room, and quickly. I think that in the curious case of Aubrey Drake, he has been the top of the game for over a decade, and he cannot fathom not holding the same crown anymore. I'm not sure if it's the Young Money curse, but him and Nicki have fallen in similar trajectories. Nobody can deny their greatness, nobody can deny their pen, but they've had their own crash outs that just blew up in their face. And you know, it happens, but for their status in the industry, it's just unfortunate to see. Drake has an insecurity.
What is it, the brakes?
As we all do, and he doesn't want to be laughed at. He's proven his position. It took him a while, but at one point he was the cool kid. He was the artist getting back-to-back #1 albums and singles. The hip-hop industry relied on him to put them on and give them their highest charting singles. Drake was in constant rotation beyond what we can truly comprehend for the past 10 years. Drake was that nigga, but he is a nigga no more cause them niggas don't fuck with him. He's been kicked out by the same people that was his homeboys in the public. Yeah, they used him, but he used them too. The Weeknd, Rick Ross, Drake hasn't written the majority of his hits. Guys in the industry have, and now that a lot of these guys, some we do know and don't know, don't mess with him anymore, he's walking on a thin line. Whatever it truly was that made them boys pile up like the Avengers, that's literally on Drake. If everybody don't like you, then you gotta have some self-reflection, and that's the problem. He refuses to look in the mirror. Drake plays weird, dirty games, and it was a situation where because he was almost untouchable, most people never openly spoke out about it. And when they did speak out about it, they got roasted. Cause Drake is the bigger artist, so it was a situation where Drake is doing better than y'all, you're just hating. It was like that for Tyga, people roasted him. Meek Mill, people roasted him. Even Pusha, who won the war, people still roasted him.
Facing adversity in 15 years. And so now we see what he's doing at the face of adversity.
Or he's a selfish, lying, manipulative sack of shit who has made enemies for 15 years, and now we're here at the fucking boiling point.
They both could be true.
You've been behind the scenes, being the biggest sack of shit you can possibly be. I'm not here to fucking play games with you niggas. Niggas know what it is out there. That's it. And he's fucking white. And he's Jewish. And he had too much dip on his chip. You have been behind the scenes, hitting niggas' baby moms, sending money to niggas' baby. Yo, dog, you been back and sending messages to this nigga's wife, talking shit about fucking, hey, but this nigga's mom died. Hey, all that's cool, but where my beat at, nigga? I don't give a fuck that your mom died. Dog, this nigga's been a sack of shit behind the scenes, and because he got fans and had Lucian, everybody just get to turn a blind eye. The blind eye days are done.
This beef with Kendrick was way worse than his beef with Pusha T. He exposed a secret son and it still didn't hit harder than what Kendrick did to him. Because not only was everybody on Kendrick's side, but Kendrick's singles had more back-to-back appeal. He just couldn't keep up. He egged on the beef with confidence, damn near begging for Kendrick to drop. Remember? He said drop and give me 50, right? Then when time went on and Drake dropped his last diss, you could literally hear the defeat in his voice. But what Drake didn't expect in this losing battle was it to actually dig at his career. Because with Pusha, although he did demolish Drake,
40 hunched over like he 80. Tick, tick, tick. How much time he got? That man is sick, sick, sick.
Pusha doesn't have the same popularity as Kendrick. Kendrick is a quiet guy, so sometimes people really forget that he really does have mainstream appeal. It really reminds me of Rod Wave. You don't talk too much, but when you drop, you're damn near shaking the tables. His appeal goes neck and neck with Drake's. Even with all the albums Drake drops yearly, Kendrick could pop out and grab just as much attention as him, easily. Kendrick also has the same industry pull as Drake with UMG. Kendrick isn't signed to UMG, he has a distribution deal, but either way, business is business with UMG no matter who's beefing. And that's what he underestimated. He underestimated Kendrick's pen game and the fact that Kendrick knows how to make a cultural impact. And I dove deep into this with my Kendrick Lamar Reshaping the Culture video. So Drake drops a lawsuit against UMG, alleging that the company engaged in unethical practices to artificially boost the popularity of Not Like Us. In this petition, Drake's company, Frozen Moments LLC, accuses UMG of employing tactics such as using bots, undisclosed payments, and biased recommendations to inflate the song's streaming numbers and radio play. The filing claims that UMG provided Spotify with a 30% discount on licensing rights in exchange for promoting Not Like Us to users searching for unrelated songs and artists. Additionally, it alleges that UMG paid radio stations to play the track without disclosing the compensation, a practice known as Payola, which is prohibited by the Communications Act. Drake's attorney argues that these actions constitute violations of RICO, deceptive business practices, and false advertising. They are seeking extensive documentation from UMG and Spotify, including payment records and identities of third parties involved in these alleged schemes. UMG has obviously denied the allegations, stating that they adhere to the highest ethical practices, emphasizing that fans choose the music they want to hear. Emphasis on fans choose the music they want to hear. Drake doesn't understand that the song was simply a hit. It had cultural impact, it had cultural relevance, and brought back a fun feeling we so desperately needed in music. He didn't think it would last this long, and now that it has, it's messing with him. He's become the butt of the jokes, and instead of fighting it by laying low and dropping some heat that reminds people who the F Drake is, he's actually been having problems grabbing the fans' attention. Remember when Drake signed a $400 million contract where he'll eventually own his masters? Well, Drake has to drop on a continuous basis and keep up with this momentum. The problem now is that he can't necessarily take that break from music to recoup himself because he has to recoup his profits. Or shall I say his contractual obligations. Drake has dropped music and it hasn't given him the momentum that he's used to. Because of the beef, nobody's really checking for his drops. Yes, people still listen to Drake, I still listen to Push-Ups, but he needs a break considering the last few albums he released weren't up to his fans' standards, and the Kendrick beef is still significant because he himself has been dropping music all year, music videos all year, and obviously he's dropping an album next year, another album, plus his Super Bowl performance. So now that Drake is in this slight pickle, what does Drake do? He goes the loser route and he turned into Aubrey the elite Karen and filed a lawsuit. But what he's suing for can also relate back to him. Drake has dominated streams for years to the point Spotify faced backlash from users over its extensive promotion of Drake's album Scorpion. At one point, Spotify features Drake's image on numerous playlists, including unrelated to his music. such as Massive Dance Hits and Best of British. This promotion led to some premium subscribers to feel that their ad-free experience was compromised, prompting them to request refunds that Spotify had to give. So even if Spotify was boosting Kendrick's Not Like Us, it was okay for you to use Spotify's power to your advantage, but once it goes against you, it's an immediate lawsuit. It makes Drake look like a sore loser and a little bit of a dumbass. Whether or not Drake wins the lawsuit, he's going up against a big corporate giant. You're suing Universal Music, the people who know your tea, the people who have the money and the connections to do worse than Kendrick did? Is that a good idea? Remember when Diddy sued Diageo and won, and now he's in jail? Remember what 50 said about that?
That's right. Sire Spirits. Yeah. So, alright, Sire Spirits, completely black owned, like you said, liquor company. Talk about that, 'cause I know you had challenges before that, right? So, talk about that whole situation.
Yeah, you have the experience with major corporations like me. My particular experience with Beam Suntory, it was great in the beginning. It's great for us to work for them. It's not so cool when you start to own things. You see what I'm saying? So I made a lot of money with them too. Like, there's a point, they did a deal that mirrored what Puffy's deal with Diageo was for Ciroc. So he didn't have ownership of that at any point, but he was getting a lot of money, like almost like $60 million a year at one point. So when you see him go to De Leon is when you see him have some issues. And they get bad. You know, and these people have really strong relationships. Don't think that the civil case doesn't turn into a criminal case faster because he's making them uncomfortable.
Mind you, we didn't know all of Diddy's tea. We knew he was weird, we knew he dibbled and dabbled, but we did not know anything about him to the extent of what we know now. We don't know all of Drake's tea right now. There's been bestiality talks, there's been talks about him being a PDF file, his love for younger girls. We know the little bits and pieces, but are we gonna know a little bit more later on? Right now with Drake, he feels like he's no longer benefiting from the same corporation that was boosting him. And what's even worse is that the public reception is even worse. People started clocking that you're suing UMG for allegedly pushing Not Like Us, but you're not suing Kendrick for defamation for calling you a PDF file. And then like clockwork, as Drake was scrolling through Twitter with his Twitter fingers, Mr. Tone Deaf then decided to sue for defamation. But again, you're not suing the person who called you a PDF file, you're suing the company. Because if you sued Kendrick, then he would have to explain why he's calling you a PDF file. You can't make this up, and it's really lame on his part. Kendrick is a very interesting individual, and if you look back at his disses, he really came on top because time will always reveal all. Drake lost the battle, then sued because he couldn't fathom being bested to this capacity. Having a diss song aimed at you being potentially played at the Super Bowl. And now I hope he does play it at the Super Bowl because you obviously haven't gotten enough. Well, that concludes today's video. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Toodles.